Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild with a fairy, hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Away with us he's going, the solemn-eyed. He'll hear no more the lowing of the calves on the warm hillside, or the kettle on the hob sing peace into his breast, or see the brown mice bob round and round the oatmeal chest. For he comes, the human child, to the waters and the wild with a fairy, hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than he can understand.
Hello there. It is good to be with you. This is our first and official podcast from A Pair of Banshees. It's our brand new podcast about all things paranormal, spooky, with an Irish twist. Yes, we decided that, there's a lot of information out there in a very broad, sweeping term about like ghosts across the world, but what does that mean for like the Irish audience, the Irish ghost? What is the Irish ghost? Is it different? And to delve a little bit more into our folklore, into our heritage, and see, what we find out, which is really exciting. Yeah, I'm really excited about like learning more myself, because this will kind of, push us and require us to actually go and do research and, interview people, talk to people, once quarantine is lifted, hopefully travel to places to get, that whole thing. It should be said that the reason we've kind of been able to do this podcast is because of the quarantine. Absolutely. So in that way, we're kind of like, this has been something like we've talked about very much so for a long time, because we're both like very much paranormal enthusiasts, and we've always been like, oh my God, I'd love to share our enthusiasm with other people. And we couldn't do it. Not that we couldn't, but we weren't finding time. Like, our lives were getting in the way. Exactly, yeah. And I mean, what other better time than now, right? And I don't know, something about this whole situation anyway feels a bit paranormal and strange and unusual anyway. None of us have ever lived through a pandemic before. I think it's the perfect time. I think you're right. I think you are right. So I guess for all of you listening, what you can expect to hear from us is, yes, paranormal stuff with an Irish twist, but like, we are going to bring you, hopefully, interviews with academics, fellow enthusiasts, people that are living through the paranormal, that are working with the paranormal. We want to go into so many different topics. We want to look at Irish writers, Irish horror writers, and bring you stuff with like a literary kind of fashion on it. Yeah, I give it a bit of a literary twist on it as well, because I suppose we both do have a bachelor in English. That's how we met in college, and it was fate, as we always say. We had a nice little discussion about everything. I'm a very big believer in fate and things happening in your life when they're supposed to happen for a reason. So me meeting Sarah was definitely one of those, I think. Like separated soulmates, separated souls finally finding each other, I suppose on that note, then, we should let you know that the poem you heard at the beginning of the piece is an extract from W.B. Yeats's poem, The Stolen Child. And we thought this would be very appropriate. It's spooky, it's Irish folklore, it's your fairies. It's by your none other but W.B. Yeats himself, very notorious Irish creative himself, so... He was really into the paranormal, actually. That's something. Him and Lady Gregory, yeah. Absolutely. Like, a lot of Irish writers and artists always were. It's really interesting. But I guess, that's the kind of twist we want to bring to it. Like, we are, how to say, we're literary people. We're both theater makers. Sarah's a writer.
I'm a performer also, and well, not that you aren't a performer, but yeah, we're both theater makers. We love literature and books and folklore and all that kind of thing. So we thought this would be the absolute perfect kind of culmination, bubbly cauldron of things we love to throw together and to actually get a start on now during this quarantine.
I like that phrase, bubbly cauldron.
Bubbly cauldron of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, that's quite cool. I like that.
Because what are we but two weird little witches bubbling away this little cauldron of stuff that we're so intrigued by?
It's so nice to be bubbling this and not bubbling stress.
Absolutely.
Which is great.
Yeah, I know.
I suppose we can tell you a little bit about where we got the title, A Pair of Banshees, and what that means. So I presume most of our listeners will be familiar with what a banshee is. But for anyone that doesn't know, the banshee, as defined in the Great Ghost Tour of Great Britain. Now, look, sure, we know this isn't Great Britain before you say it. We know.
This is just the book title.
But they are defining the banshee as a spirit that appears before a person's death to howl a mourning song and to welcome them into the afterlife. It is Ireland's most famous ghost, and she normally appears for families that have the O in their name, so like O'Neill, and she's often appears as a wretched old hag in rags and has long hair and is combing it.
Yeah, usually wailing or crying.
Yes.
And combing a long hair. So it's not something you want to encounter in the dark of the night.
No.
Absolutely not, no.
But we're just doing a fun spin on it.
Yeah, but I mean, also, us being, we had this talk before we started recording, of like, oh, we're going to be two big old feminists,
Yeah.
But, like, the banshee, like a lot of, like the witch figure itself, like any kind of, I don't know, female creature or figure, there's always something kind of like taboo and, I don't know, how to say, like weary and strange about it, and she never gets the kind of, the attention that she deserves, and it's always seen in kind of a negative light, especially like this, like a banshee, like a screaming old woman,
Yeah.
Obviously, the screaming old woman brings, a bad omen.
Yeah.
Of course. What else would it bring? Like, and even like, do you remember when we first talked? There used to be, as Sarah brought up, back in the day in Ireland, there used to be a packet of crisps called, what was it?
Banshee Bones.
Banshee Bones.
Yeah.
When I first moved to Ireland, I was 6. And I remember when Sarah said that to me, going trick-or-treating, my first time ever at 6 or 7 years old in Ireland, in Wexford, where I lived first, I got these crisps. I remember the visual so clearly. And like you, Sarah, like, it was like this so super cool, like, not like creepy old hag. It was like this cool, powerful, creepy witch on the cover, of these crisps. I
must eat these. They're spooky.
Yes. And then they just disappeared.
This is the thing. Like, can you get them anymore? I haven't.
No, I've never seen them. But then you still have Monster Munch, which is a big male monster. You still have Rancheros, a big cowboy. Meanies is a big, as I think, obvious kind of male monster as well. So what's the Potato Man, the Pringle Man? They're all men.
You make a good point. Yeah.
Where's the Banshee?
Where's the representation of women in crisps? Yeah.
See what I mean? Right. So, I don't know, it's just a very silly little thing, but I mean, just the fact that, the Banshee is always seen as like this negative omen, and I suppose this is us kind of, I feel like reclaiming back the Banshee idea as not just like this terrible omen and just this terrible screaming hag, that brings death. Yeah. I think that's why we stuck to this name. We quite like it, and obviously there's us being a two pair of weirdos talking about paranormal things, hence the pair of banshees.
Yeah, and it's complaining. She's technically complaining, and that's what we're both full of, is loads of complaints.
Yeah, sure, yeah. That is, that's not a lie.
No, that's not a lie. But we will be doing an episode dedicated solely to the Banshee at a later stage, because she is such a great figure in Irish folklore that we only wanted to briefly mention a bit about her now. But like, do expect to hear a full episode on her, an in-depth episode, which will be much better.
Yeah, I think she deserves one just to herself. So.
Oh, completely.
So yeah, we'll do that. And but yeah, on this mad little bubbling cauldron of a podcast, you'll hopefully delve with us beyond the veil into all things occult, like spiritual, paranormal, and yes, we want to focus on a lot of stuff you can find in Ireland here because we think it's sort of overlooked, or I mean, we have such a rich history with supernatural and such a rich history generally that it's kind of like, why aren't we looking at Irish things more, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why, yeah, we hope to bring along with us on this mad little, mostly Ireland-focused paranormal journey.
Yeah, I mean, for God's sake, we're the birthplace of Halloween. So when that is your, like, when that is what your country has done, it brought Halloween into the world. For God's sake, it needs more appreciation of this genre.
I know. It's mental. But just we have so much. Every single, as we said, we've got so much fairy lore that's specific to our country. Every single author or artist in some way, I think, has touched off it.
Yeah.
We have, fairy and, like, pagan structures all over the place. And, it's amazing. You've got like ley lines, are they called ley lines? Power lines. All over the country. Lots of spiritual people like come here specifically for that.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So lots and lots of stuff for us to talk about, to research, and I'm excited to do this with you, Sarah.
I'm excited to do it with you too, Jenny.
Yeah.
I guess we should say to our listeners is this episode is very much going to involve us telling you about like our paranormal experiences, our supernatural encounters, just to kind of let you know who you're listening to. So you get a sense, get your vibes off us, these psychic vibes that we're talking about, and you can make your judgment on us and on our paranormal things. We'd love to know what you think of our experiences and whether you think, oh, maybe they are a product of your environment, or whether you think, oh no, that's a bit weirder, or what you feel like. Have you ever like met somebody and thought big no, like particularly on like I think a first dates scenario is very a very obvious one, or have you ever walked somewhere and thought, oh, I don't want to be here, or anything like that? If you've had any of those moments, we'd love to know.
Absolutely. I think even on that with would you not think every time you get that feeling when you're walking down a street or something and you always feel like someone's watching you when there's clearly nobody around? What's that about?
What's that?
Yeah. We've all experienced that, I think, at some point. That's why we made our Facebook group, where we want to grow like as a community and kind of share all these experiences together. And obviously as we grow, we hope to, discover more and more about all the things you can find in Ireland, and we want to discuss it all with you. So please join. I can't talk.
Please join our Facebook group. It's a private group, but you can find it if you search in the Facebook. It's a Pair Banshees podcast, and yeah, feel free to share anything into it. We also have an Instagram. It's a Pair Banshees. Yeah, and we'll be uploading spooky stuff to that also. So yeah, we're on social media. We're all about oh my god, now my voice is gone.
The ghost.
We're all about audience involvement. So please, we love to hear your opinions, thoughts, everything.
Everything, yes. Absolutely.
Jenny, can I ask you to define what the paranormal is?
Yes. So we took the definition from the Ghost Tour of Great Britain as well. Just to make it clear, because we had it handy, okay? We were not like sponsored by them or anything, No. It is. So the paranormal is any experience that happens beyond the range of scientific explanation or normal human capabilities, including hauntings, telekinesis, telepathy, clairvoyance, any other rarity that can't be justified by the five senses. So I think that's a very good a very broad but very general and clear kind of explanation of what the paranormal is.
Yeah, and that it's not just limited to the paranormal is seeing a weird figure in your house in the middle of the night. That it is something that, there's so many things that will fall under that. Like as it says, things that cannot be defined by the five senses.
Yeah.
Intuition, for God's sake, I would argue, is very much a paranormal thing. Predicting. We've all had moments where we felt things, or we predict things, and like that's paranormal. You can't say, you know, you can't prove that you had that right, but you in yourself know something strange has happened. I think it's so primitive. I really think like so many of these things go back to like almost the caveman days, and we're like a
Absolutely.
survival thing.
Absolutely, I think so. But I mean, who am I to explain what these things are and how they happen? But as we said, yeah, we both kind of agree in that sense that the paranormal isn't yet just seeing that ghost and just having that poltergeist throw shit around your house.
Yeah.
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 It is, yeah, as everything falls into that kind of thing, anything outside of our 5 normal human senses. And in the definition, I like that it does mention clairvoyance. And just anything outside normal human capabilities. Because me and Sarah are talking about that, she's had maybe more experience with the kind of general kind of paranormal a lot of the time, where, as we will talk about her very haunted house.
Yeah.
But for myself, I've always been attracted to anything kind of psychic and clairvoyant people, and just clairvoyance in itself, or clairsentience is something I only recently discovered, which is something that connects to me. With me personally, I've always had that, as you said, like intuition, a very clear kind of read on people, experiencing the vibes. People hate when I say that, like, oh, I didn't like their vibe, but like I say it so genuinely. I'm like, you can feel a negative energy from someone. You can feel when someone's being dishonest.
Yes.
Or was it disingenuine, or I don't know, just lying, or is a malicious or dangerous person, or anything like that. You can feel these things from people. I've always been able to tell when a situation was going to go bad. I've had that strong gut feeling many times in my life where, the one time I didn't listen to it, it proved like very traumatic. And other times when I listened to that very strong gut feeling of, oh no, this is something you really don't want to do, I'm glad I listened to it and didn't do the thing. Things like that. And I think, I have a really good read of people. It's why I'm an open book, and I'm really, really honest and open, because I'm just like that, because I can feel all these things from people, and I expect the same from people. So I'm really open and genuine. So because maybe it's like a stark contrast to my openness, that I feel when someone is absolutely hiding something or not being genuine, So I always thought that was all to do with the paranormal, not just, actually experiencing hauntings and things like that.
Can you think of any like real life examples that maybe you could relate back to us?
About knowing something was going to happen?
Yeah, because I think many people can identify with that moment when they've maybe walked into a building and they've just got a vibe. And not necessarily because you're walking into a building that's like dark or creepy. You could be walking into an office, but you just can feel, oh, something's has gone on here. Like maybe you've walked into a room and moments before you walked in, there was a big argument, and you can pick that up.
Yeah.
That's, you know what I mean? That's something.
I absolutely think it's something. I mean, I've had a lot of things like someone I was with or something has said something like, I have a feeling, you'll end up breaking my heart, or something will happen and we won't be together. And I absolutely felt it in my soul that, yeah, that's going to be true. Or predicted that something was going to happen, like in relationships, or like that, you'll have a fight and it won't last past this time. Or just being able to tell when maybe like in relationships that something is real or isn't going to last as well. Or just meeting disingenuine people who, it always happens, something where you don't trust somebody and you just know they're dodgy. And until they prove it, nobody believes you. But I've always had a good read on someone that I didn't trust and just didn't get along with. They were a negative person. They didn't work with me. And I just just wondered why that wasn't working. And then they'll go and do something, or they show their true face, as people say, and other people kind of see it of like, oh, they've actually been manipulative and dishonest or whatever. I've just had a lot of moments like that because I don't know, I'm a very emotional person, so I guess I'm in tune with other people's emotions and behaviors.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just that, but just always being able to predict that, getting really strong gut feelings before meeting with people, like on dates or things like that, where I've had a few where I just had the strongest kind of, no, absolutely don't do this. This is not something you should do. And then I didn't, and they would have, immediately retaliated with something really like a violent or a negative sentiment, or you're glad you didn't go. I mean, it's a very personal story, but my first ever boyfriend at 17 was not a very nice person, and he, this is someone who was not trustworthy. They had abused drugs and alcohol. They were abusive mentally and physically, and I just felt that it wasn't going to be a good thing that was going to happen, but I got sucked into this relationship anyway. But like, I knew it wasn't something that was going to be good to start with, but then you just find yourself in the middle of it. And then, I don't know, I'm in this relationship for a few months, and on my birthday, my mom and dad got me 2 tickets to London. So naturally, obviously, you would take your boyfriend with you. And at this point, I had seen who he kind of really was, and he was not a good or safe person to be around. So I knew before this, I was like, I'm not going to bring him to London. I really don't want to bring him there with me or have that kind of experience. I was going to bring my sister. I don't know, something happened. My sister couldn't go. I had to go with him. I didn't want the tickets to go to waste. And the night before and packing, it was the strongest, most awful, like to the point of nausea feeling of like, this is going to go so badly. Something really horrible is going to happen. I've never felt anything more strong in my life than that good feeling. Yeah. It was just this, my whole body and being telling me like, don't go there, just don't do this. And yeah, like I was right the next day when we were in London. He got very violent and scary, and it was a very, very scary fight. And I packed my stuff and had to go like phone my mom's friend to stay with them, things like that, where with your entire soul and being, you just knew that was going to happen. And I know in this case, I guess it's like, well, he was a bad person anyway, right? So what did you expect? That's just, for me, I've been, I don't know, very, yeah, like I've had multiple times you walk into a place, like a new job, you just know it's not going to be a good experience, and it never was,
Yeah.
I couldn't say I've ever experienced any kind of traditional kind of hauntings or witnessed visibly any actual supernatural or paranormal things as of yet.
As of yet, exactly. There's plenty of room for like all of this to fill your life.
Yeah, I felt stuff and been spooked, but they haven't shown themselves to me yet. But on that note, and I'll stop talking about myself as well. Sarah, please tell us about your haunted house. I mean, I say that in such a general term, but so Sarah's has a very interesting house, where spooky stuff have happened. So please tell me about that.
So, right. My house is, so I suppose I don't live so Jenny lives in Dublin. Yeah. I don't live in Dublin. I live on the border of Cavan and Meath, and so I can, the sticks. And
which is the countryside for those.
Yeah, for all you other folk. I live in a bungalow house, and it's a big enough house, I suppose. And over the few years, I've been here really forever. There's always been weird stuff going on in the house, but never enough stuff consecutively in a row to like warrant like ghost hunters coming in, because you could never predict it happening. You're like, every Tuesday night something weird happens, or like twice a week we get a figure in the hall. It was never, it was just, but over time there were weird things that happened that we couldn't explain. So I think I'll start with like my first paranormal encounter I think ever was in this house. And so myself and my younger sister Shauna used to share a room, and I would have been maybe about 8, 9, quite young. So Shauna would have been 6, I think that, yeah. And where our room used to be is I had my bed, then there would be a gap and her bed. Do you know what I mean? And we were looking at like a TV up in the top corner of our room. So we were just sitting there in bed, not talking, just looking at the TV. And all of a sudden, I still get chills when I talk about this. All of a sudden, this black figure appeared in the middle of the two beds and blocked out the light from the TV. And it is what I described as hooded, like, because the back of it seemed to curve up to where the head is, like it seemed to have a hood shape, and then it like moved it, like it wasn't straight down. Do you know what I mean? It was like it dimpled in to where its chin area would be, and then dimpled in again further down, like as if indicating a torso. But it was so quick. It was so quick. It was just not there, and then it was there, and I looked at it, and then it like took a step forward and went down into the floor.
Ew.
It looked like what I call like a monk kneeling. Now that's a very general term, but that's my best description of it. And I looked at it. I just watched it happen, and I was like, "That is so freaking weird." But I said to myself, "That has to have been Shauna's shadow." Even though I knew that was a 3D shadow in the middle of the floor, I just needed some rational explanation for it.
Yeah, that's what our brain does. Yeah.
Yeah, until Shauna turned to me and went, "Did you see that shadow, Sarah?" And I went, "Ah, Manny!" I went running into my mom's room. I was like, "There's a monk in my room." She's like, "What does the monk in your room, Sarah? Go back to bed." I was scared out of my mind.
I mean, yeah, it would be too.
And that even thinking about it, because I remember the genuine terror of what the hell was that then, if that was not you and that was not me, and we both saw this thing. It was so scary. I've seen a few things in the house. I saw like in my kitchen, so we have a long hallway down into our kitchen. I saw like a wispy thing run past the door. It looked like smoke, very light. I saw a man standing in the kitchen one day, very quick, very brief. I saw my nana saw a figure run. Oh my gosh, how to explain this? So at the top, so we have this long hallway, and at the top of my hallway is like my sister's room and then my mom's room. So they're like off opposite each other. But my mom's room has another little hallway kind of into it a bit.
Yeah.
And my nana would have been standing further down the hall looking up towards the top where the two rooms are, and she saw a figure run across the hallway. So run from one room into the other room.
Yeah.
She thought in fact that it was my sister, and she went up to kind of be like, "What the heck are you doing out of bed?" Until she went in and saw that everyone in the room was fast asleep. She was able to draw the figure. She was able to draw, she said it was profile, and she would draw the nose and the mouth. It had like a real sloped forehead, and it had long hair that flew out the back, and it was ashen in colour. Like real fairy, like.
Yeah.
And that is so creepy. Something ran into a room where you were sleeping. Is terrifying.
Well, the terrifying thing is like thinking it's just one of your granddaughters and then going, no, that definitely wasn't.
No, that wasn't. There's been, I suppose that room has had a few weird things in it. Shauna has saw something in that room before. She said she saw a figure, like a girl standing in the room with, she said something on her finger, like the figure's finger had like something shiny on it as if it was a ring. What else did we see? There's just been a few weird things. Things have moved in the house that we can't explain. Like
the speaker or something.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. Oh my god. Yes, we had this massive. Oh my god, what would you call it? A sound disc, and like the thing that you move all the dials on and all the slides on.
I think it's a sound disc.
I say this, but a freaking massive one. Like this is from like the 2000s era. So you're talking this thing is like about 15 to 20 kilograms. Like it's really heavy. It's massive. It's about like 2 foot by 2 foot. Like it's freaking massive. And yeah, one night there was oh my god, what was it? I wasn't here at the time. There was a smell of burning in the house, and they were like, "What the heck?" And they traced the smell, and the whole sound desk had been pushed up on its side. All the lights on it were lit, and it was smoking. And there was no way. The only person that was roaming the house at the time was Lisa, and Lisa was only about 4 or whatever. There was no way she would have been able to lift this 15
Giant
kilograms.
desk.
Yeah, giant desk up, turn it on enough that you pressed all the buttons that all the lights would have come on. That was really scary because that was like, something could have caught fire.
That's some real stuff. That's some poltergeist stuff right there.
Isn't it? Things have moved, things have turned on. Like we had a proper sixth sense moment where like one day all the presses in our utility room opened up, and that was terrifying because some of them presses were proper locked, like not with like lock and key, but like shut tight with one of those joints that you had to like pull and pop out.
Yeah.
And one day we went in, they were all open. Oh my God, that was so scary.
The creepiest one you told me like as it happened. So we've known each other how many years now? 5, 6?
5, 6, yeah.
So this was a relatively recent experience because you told me like the day after it happened or whatever. You know the whole thing where so Sarah's attic is probably very active. The whole thing of like someone walking up the stairs in the middle of the night, things like that. So Sarah's attic, you have to access by leaving the bungalow house. So you leave the main house and go around the side and have to go up a metal stairs into the attic upstairs where Sarah's mom is an artist, so it's kind of like a studio, and then it has a kind of extra room where like I would stay if I stayed over or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's this tall metal staircase, and this would have happened a few years ago when you told me.
Yeah, so Shauna's room is at that end of the house. So the staircase would be like against her wall. And it was really early in the morning. She was awake. It was like maybe 6 o'clock in the morning, and had her headphones on. She was awake at that time. And she could hear like bangs on the stairs. And she would be quite used to the sounds on the stairs over the years. But these sounds were strange enough that she took the earphones off and was listening. And she could hear like dum 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 dum, like she could hear like something up and down the stairs, going up and down. She was like, "Is that the dog?" Because we have a dog, but she knows the sound of my dog on the stairs because he's loads of nails.
Yeah.
She was listening to it, and she sat up, and she could hear the banging of it running up, running down, but like skipping steps. So like it would be banging at the bottom of the steps, and then it would be on top of the steps, and she was listening to it. The next thing, the steps were in the room above her. So above her head, she could hear the footsteps running. Oh, could you imagine running across the ceiling into the further room and running back again, and just running it over a few times like something of a horror movie. She could hear the footsteps just going back and forth, really childlike, she thought, like really just quick and light.
It's running around upstairs or something.
But she never heard the door open to upstairs. And you have to click the key, and the key is quite
heavy one, yeah.
And she never heard someone open the door or close the door. She didn't hear anyone come back down the stairs. But the next thing she hears is a tapping at her window, just rhythmically tapping. Her window's, I'd say, about 6 foot off the ground. So it's a pretty window to reach. Oh, I get chills talking about it. But the most recent thing that happened in the house that we've, I suppose, acknowledged is at Halloween. We were all going to go out trick-or-treating, and we were in my hallway, and we were getting ready to go out. It was like literally just before we went out the door. We were kind of like, where's the keys, fixing the costume. There was a lot of noise in the house. Like we had a movie on in the background. It was shouting very loudly. There was 4 or 5 of us in the house. And then all of a sudden, and I'll say this from my point of view, it was like everything went quiet, and I became aware of the fact that there was 3 people coming up to the door from outside the front door. So I could hear 3 people outside the house walking to the front door. Now, it's pitch black at night, because it's obviously evening in the Halloween. But I thought, oh my God, we've trick-or-treaters. And we live out in the middle of nowhere, so like we don't get trick-or-treaters. So we were like, oh my God, trick-or-treaters. Everyone agreed, like, oh my gosh, we all have trick-or-treaters. So we all kind of moved out of the way as if to make way for these people who were about to enter our house. Mom went to my nana's window and was like calling out to see if anybody is out there, and there was no one there. There was nobody outside. Shauna went out the back door to have a look around and see,
did we miss a car or anything like that? Nothing. But we all heard voices coming up to the door really loudly, as if over the sound of everything. And the weirdest thing is, I can tell you right now that it was two girls and a boy walking up to the door.
Wow.
I can literally tell you that was the energy I got. And I was so sure of it, I moved out of the way. Like, it was such a confident stride these voices had. They were as if they were going to just walk into my house, as if it was part of their everyday routine. And that wasn't so much as scary as it was really freaky weird. Like, that was like, because we all heard it except my mum, but the rest of us all heard the voices. So there was several witnesses to it.
Yeah.
It was strange. So there's been things over the years, like there's been sights, there's been sounds, there's things have moved, people have been poked, but never enough to be like every day or to say, yes, if you come over, you're going to see a ghost in my house.
Well, of course not. They don't work like that.
And like, it's not like our house is a think of, oh, a big noise, it's gonna be a ghost. We are very rational. We try to debunk everything. We try to prove that it was the wind, or that it was like one of us did it through vibrations or something like that, because we believe in this stuff so much that we want it to be real. So when something happens, we try to prove it's fake so that we can believe it even more if we can. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and it's smart of you, you know, you don't just latch onto the idea, you know, and just go, oh, that's it. Yeah, like, that was a ghost.
No.
You know?
No. Like,
which is what people think, like, yeah, we do all the time. And I absolutely believe that you absolutely would go around debunking and checking everything.
Yeah,
and,
we do. Because I'm sick. I'm sick of people going, oh my God, there's a demon in my house. It's like, there's not a demon in your house. Like, that's the wind, Barbara. Like, get over yourself.
Yeah, Barbara, calm down. It's not, everything isn't demons.
No, I'm like, there's so many rational explanations for so much, but there's just been too many things over the years where I can't prove it. And like, I suppose in myself, I've gone places and I the weirdest paranormal experience I have, I suppose this is quite a funny one, is I was on a tour of a castle in Carlow called Huntington Castle with my family when I was maybe about 10 or 11. I had a lot of weird experiences around that age. And I remember being in the car park. And Jenny, this is going to sound so bizarre, but I swear to God this happened, right? There was like no other cars. There was like, we were the only people visiting that day because it's the type of castle it is. It's not like a main castle, like, you know what I mean? It's not a popular tourist spot. You kind of go up and these homeowners bring you around their castle. There was like one other car maybe, and it was the homeowner's car. Jenny, I looked over at the car, and there was a man standing with his like splayed out across the car, like, shit, she saw me, and he ran away. So I swear to God, I know this sounds weird, but he was like real full on, like freeze pose, like fingers splayed, arms like looking at me like, oh like, God,
I've been caught.
Literally. And he ran around the side of the car, and he was full black, no details on him, and he was no further. I'd say he was about maybe 30 foot away from me, like very clear. And I went up to the car. I walked over to the car and looked around it and looked in it to see where the hell did this man go. And there was like, I mean, I never took my eyes off the car from the moment I saw that man. So there wasn't like he could have ran into the bushes or ran into the doors or anything like that. I was looking at the car. I don't know where he went, but I saw a ghost get caught in the action and be embarrassed about it. I swear to God.
That's amazing. Oh, shite. A human.
Literally. Because he was like, I shouldn't have been here. It was like Hagrid, you know, I shouldn't have done that. I should not have done that. Yeah.
I mean, do you know what? At least that was a silly spirit or something maybe that was like, oh, don't want to be caught? Goodbye.
Yeah. But I do think I if I go places, I will pick up on things. And I think I need to learn how to protect myself a little bit from that. Because, like, even in people, you know, you do find people that are like, you know, energy vampires, where they will sap your energy and you feel so deflated after meeting with them. And sometimes I'm afraid that when I go to places that I'm very open, that I could be tampered with,
latched on to. I suppose I need to learn how to kind of bring that into me. As everyone says to me, I'm definitely a soul this is my first time on the earth.
What, you?
Yeah.
I
Everyone
don't think you're. I think I'm an old. I think I've been
You're an old
reincarnated. I
soul.
think I've been here before.
Yeah,
But
you're
I don't think me and you would connect so much, or you wouldn't. I don't think you definitely don't feel like a new soul to me anyway. New souls, I would always assume, like, I've always understood as people who aren't spiritual, who aren't like aware of these kinds of things, who aren't in tune with things. Yeah. So I think older souls, if that is a real thing, I've always kind of believed in that and reincarnation. So to me, that's what that means. It's like you've been around, you experience things, you can feel things, you're more in tune, you're more spiritual because you've been here before, you know?
maybe. A psychic once told me I was an angel, so I'm just going to ride with that.
I mean, a psychic told me that I'm a reincarnated old Italian grandmother. So yeah,
Yeah, I could
like
see that.
that was the whole kind of my only kind of legit experience. I haven't met with psychics a lot or anything like that, but that was a very interesting experience. Why like I it confirmed why I believe in these kinds of abilities and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So this was like I was maybe 16 or something, and my mum had a lot of like spiritual friends, and she was really close with this Reiki master, and he lived in like Waterford or something. So whenever he'd have like meetings or shows or work up in Dublin, he would come here, stay with us, and we'd see him for a few days, and then he'd leave. And he was lovely at the time. So one of the times he asked if he can bring a guest who's coming to be a speaker at some event with him. Obviously, my mom was like, "Yeah, absolutely, we've got space," and she's a psychic, and I was in school. I'm 16, so I'm going to school Monday to Friday, and they were staying like during the weekdays anyway, where I have school, whatever, 9 to 4, and then I had whatever the hell I had after school, dancing and whatever else. So they were staying maybe Monday to Friday. And I hadn't seen her or had any contact with her those entire, like, say, 4 days, like Monday to Thursday. So just because I'm in school, and then when I come back from school, they're off doing something in the evening, so we never just crossed paths until she came up to my room on the Friday and just kind of knocked on my door, and she was like, "Hi, like, can I just come in? Can we have a chat? Because I'm such and such, haven't met you yet." And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, come in. Nice to meet you. Sorry you've been in my house and I haven't spoken to you yet." Like,
Yeah.
had a little chat. And she just literally wanted to just sit down and be like, "I'm getting a lot of like energy and reading a lot of things, like basically vibes and energy from you, and I just want to like come and talk to you about it and to see if what I'm getting is like correct." And she literally then just started sitting there telling me these like facts about how I feel and things I feel and think, and beliefs I have. She was very like open about it. She's like, "Do you feel like you've been here before?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." She's like, "Do you feel like you're kind of at a place and this is all really kind of strange and you're almost bored already?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." She's like, "Do you ever feel like you're older than your mom or something?" And I was like, "Absolutely. I always feel like I'm teaching her lessons. I feel like I'm her parent and not the other way around." She made all these like different assumptions and statements, and I was like, "Yeah, all true." She even asked something like, "Out of your favorite like movies and books, like is there something that sticks out, for example, like Lord of the Rings?" And I was like, yes, actually, it's one of my favorite films. Now I have a Lord of the Rings tattoo, which I got later, but it's always been something because I like things like that. I connect to like fairy tale and fantasy things on a kind of spiritual level because like I want to believe that a world like that exists. I want to believe in like fantasy creatures and uh entities and things like that, and like I want to believe in a place that's like Middle Earth, or the idea of being like an elf in Middle Earth is like beautiful to me. And if there's something like pagan and like primal about that stuff for me, so things like this. She came and made all these assumptions about me, so I was just sitting there kind of baffled that like this is someone I've never met in person, and just by being in the house she had like these energies and feelings about me, and she just told me all this stuff about me. And she then said, when I said I feel like I'm my mom's mother, she was like, "Well, actually you are she's like, do you feel a connection with Italy by any chance?" And I was like, then I had never visited it yet, but I was always super connected to like obviously, you know, the Renaissance, the Italian language was always the one I wanted to know the most, and have been like learning it in bits, you know, throughout my life. Just something that's like drawing you to the country, you know, as well. I love Italian people, Italian food, everything. And she's like, well, do you know what? Like you were once your mother's grandmother or great grandmother in Italy, in southern Italy. So you kind of like, you've made a few rounds of life basically and kind of found your way back to her family by now being her daughter, which is what she told me.
Wow. And like, have you been able to track your family history and been able to say, yes, in this century we were living in Italy?
Our family is quite small, so I haven't been able to track down that, but no, I only know I have Armenian relatives, but nobody in Italy as of yet.
You should do some ancestry.com and see if that'd be pretty cool if you could, you know what I mean, if there was some like what's the word, truth in what she's saying.
I know. I mean, obviously there's like just connections for myself of like, yeah, absolutely, all these spiritual things are true, you know, I have a connection to Italy, feels like home. And it's funny, she said like southern Italy, that when I did visit Italy by myself for the first time, meeting my first Italian friend and pen pal, she, when I spoke Italian to her, said I have a southern accent when I speak.
Ooh.
But why would I have an accent when I'm just learning the language? Like I don't know it from any particular region, you know what I mean?
Good point.
And she was just like, you speak with a southern
Well,
accent.
you have to go into your ancestry. I mean, like, oh my gosh, yeah, I would have to do that if someone told me you're like this, you know, if this nationality. I would absolutely have to do that.
I know. And I know there's gonna be people listening to this be like, oh my god, what bollocks. That just like interests me, you know?
It's
like
just interesting. It's fun. It's fun to talk about and consider. Like whether you believe in it or not, it's I think it's quite interesting to kind of just entertain these conversations.
Me too. And just I think, yeah, because of that kind of thing, like where you just connect to places instantly or people or there's people have freaky connections of like, you know, you have like this fear and you were born on this day and you had this connection, and then they find people in history that somehow connect to them, or they think that that is someone who like they were in a past life or something. And I think with past lives, the connection I really like is like phobias, like that whole kind of belief. They say your phobias are like remnants of how you died in a past life.
I don't know. See, I don't know where I stand in the whole past life thing because I'm not as you are more into the whole what's the word? I was gonna say reincarnation.
Yeah.
Whereas I kind of I mean I enjoy the conversation and I think it's fun. I don't know whether I believe in the idea of a past life.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Do you know, because then if you were in your past life, where does your spirit like float around until it finds a new body? Like what's a ghost then? Does everyone get a past life? Is there an afterlife? It's like when you get into it, your mind.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to process. Like in my mind, it's something like, yeah, like your spirit or your essence is what kind of stays you, and that's what kind of remains. You just switch like bodies, and that sounds bizarre, you know what I mean? Like not very like, oh, here's me flying like an ectoplasm and then like bursting into someone, you know?
Recycling.
Taking over their body. Yeah, just like it's the essence of you, like a spirit or something, and that's like when you say people are like old souls or things like that, it's you gather kind of maturity or experience, you know, emotional intelligence, spirituality, all these different like levels and maturity by being here already. You know what I mean? In that kind of sense. I don't know, maybe that was like a really big comfort to me when I was like a really depressed and lonely teenager, really feeling out of place. I felt like I was like 60 when I was like 15. I was so tired of living already. I was like, God, I've done this. Like, you know, I was like, how much more of this do I have to take? Like, you know, so that felt very real of kind of like I've done this so many times before. Why am I doing this now? And I'm so unhappy, you know? So for me, that felt very true, that it's, you have all these connections to things. It could just be my personality, but because I believe in fate so much, I believe in not like maybe like the butterfly effect and all those kind of things, like things connecting throughout history and time. Like I just love that stuff, and it all makes sense to me. So it makes sense to me that my soul or my essence or my atoms or something have been traveling throughout space and time, you know, or something like that.
I suppose if you think about it, your belief in past lives and everything is just as valid in my belief of not having past lives. Because at the end of the day, nobody knows what the heck happens after this life. Is it dead end? Like, do you just stop existing? Because I can't get my head around that. Do you go to a designated heaven or hell? Do you reincarnate? Do you just wander the earth as a soul? Like, where do you go? Like, I think this, like, no one's belief is right or wrong, because at the end of the day, it's a belief. Nothing
we
can
don't
be
know.
proved.
We can't prove this stuff.
No, and I think I think it's incredible, the idea that as humans, we've latched on to the idea of an afterlife so much that it makes it's a huge part of every culture in the world. You know, I mean, for God's sake, the reason that we have like the Karens is because of their belief in the afterlife. That's how we know about how they lived, is through how they died. You know?
Absolutely.
Even
Anything
the
like
Egyptians.
Stonehenge, Newgrange, all of that. They're like tributes to future life or an afterlife, you know? Yeah, but we don't know. It's mad. We can prove, I don't know, we can prove many things that are bizarre in my mind, but you can't prove afterlife or death or presence of a god or heaven and hell, things like this, you know?
And yet there have been weird things. Yet, you know, we have paranormal experiences. There have been miracles. There have been, do you know what I mean? There has been things that science has yet to answer. Like,
absolutely.
And that's fascinating. And I think even from a scientific point of view, I think it's such a shame that they choose to ignore it and dismiss it. It's like, well, prove I'm wrong.
But yeah, there's so much. I mean, look at us just rambling on about our beliefs here, and just in the first episode, and that's already touched on so many things.
Yes, we're sorry. We've ghost waffled. This is what our new.
This is what we said. Our term for talking shite and waffling away, but it's ghost waffle.
Ghost waffle.
Yeah, like we wanted to just, I guess, just have a kind of casual chat on where we stand on the paranormal and our own kind of thoughts on that, I guess, so you know, again, who you've been listening to. And hopefully you enjoy us speaking and discussing. And of course, this is more general. Yes. You know, we're not actually talking about specific things and research that we've done. But hopefully you got a taste of what kind of mad little people we are.
Yes, we will. In the future, our episodes will be more structured. We will be talking about definite case studies, definite definitions, hopefully speaking with other people, experts, academics, enthusiasts, whoever that we can get to talk with us about whatever subject. We will have more structure, but yes, as Jenny said, this is just for you to get to know us. What we will say is, as we are hoping, so that poem extract that you heard at the beginning obviously was Yeats, but what we would like to do is to get you guys involved in what poems that we put on our show. So we would love for any poets, writers, whether it doesn't matter if you've written 10 books or whether you've like wrote a limerick or like just whatever,
or a shopping list,
if there is any kind of poems that you have in your head on paper that are of a supernatural paranormal vibe, we would love to have them and we will read them out on the show, because we are massive supporters of the arts. We are artists ourselves. Spooky things, whether it's about witches, wizards, goblins, ghosts, poltergeists,
ghost
demons.
sex, I don't know, vampires. Whatever. I told you, I have a book on hauntings, and the first page I open it up on is ghost sex, okay? It is legit. People have claimed to do this, so don't you judge me.
What?
You gave me a face.
You get the gist. So whatever,
the gist,
whatever you want, please send it into our email if you have anything there. Our email is pairofbanshees@gmail.com.
Yep.
So that is, once again, pairofbanshees@gmail.com. Please send it in to us, and we will certainly be giving everyone a read. We are not going to scrutinize or judge or we don't care what it is. If it's
absolutely not,
then we're happy to get it. And, we'll pick out one every week and we'll read it on the show.
Absolutely. We can read it on the show. And please join the group, follow us on Instagram, and do get in touch with spooky things, or if you personally have spooky experiences or spooky places that you want to direct us to,
Yes,
please let us know.
we'd love that. And if there's any subject that you particularly like, we have like obviously definite ideas of what we want to cover on the show, but if there is something that you would love to know about from an Irish perspective, like cryptids, for instance, everyone knows about like Loch Ness monster and the Bigfoot, but I want to know, does Ireland have any like cryptid creatures? Like, what do we have? I can't wait to explore that one.
I know, because I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
No, I can't either. I
And
don't.
I mean, yeah, no, honestly,
No,
I don't know.
but I'm excited to see like where our research brings us. So please,
Absolutely.
anyone out there that wants to have a chat with us about anything at all, send us an email, send us an Instagram message.
And again, I think we'll wrap this up with you now. And sorry if there was a bit of ghost waffle, but again, I hope you enjoyed our discussions and getting to know us a little bit. And thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you so much for listening to our ghost waffle.
Yes.
And thank you again for being here, and to anyone who's supporting us. And a big, big thank you to Manana, the band, who have been helping me with sound for the last year and a half, especially Aaron Sheehy, who does my music and who created one of our musics for us.
And
Shauna McKenna Dunn for the sound as well.
Yep. And I'd like to say thank you to Jess Stewart as well for helping put the finishing touches on our logo design.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, that is all for now, and thank you again for being here.